Is the pressure on the 76ers to win the NBA championship now that they have a third option with a max deal? Keve Aluma has been the man for the Summer Sixers, and KJ Martin is coming back to the team. We'll talk about that and more next on Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As the playoffs wind down, the sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Hey, I'm Keith Pompey, and this is my right-hand man, John Mitchell. We are the co-hosts of Locked On 76ers. We got a lot to talk to you about. You know, there's been a lot of chatter since Paul George signed and his max contract where people are saying the pressure has to be on him. It's unheard of to have a max player being a third option. Like, what are the 76ers doing? So we'll talk about that in the first segment. The second segment, we have to talk about Keve Aluma. This guy is shooting 73.3% through 4 summer league games. Now, I get it. I know it's the summer league and, you know, it's different from the regular season, but we're talking about a guy who played the last 2 years overseas and is kind of like an unheralded player.
Yeah.
He wasn't, but he's taking the moment, the opportunity, and he's like running with it. So we'll touch base on him on the second segment. In the third segment, KJ Martin is coming back. He's agreed to resign a 2-year, $16 million deal. So we'll have a lot to talk about that. But Mitch, there's been a lot of criticism of Paul George making that much money as a third option. Now, we all knew that he was going to make all that money. I'm not 100% sure that he's going to be the third option, right? I mean, I think it's going to be fluid. It could be something from day to day, what have you. But do you believe that the pressure is on the 76ers now to win a championship because of the money he's making?
Absolutely. If you give somebody $212 million, and you now have 3 players roster making 200 million plus, we're no longer talking about, hey, can we finally get past the second round for the first time since AI did it, in 2001. And, we're making mention of people not calling them out, but just saying, hey, man, the reality of the situation is when you pay that kind of money, you got to get some serious bang for your buck. I mean, you can look at it both ways. Either Boston Celtics, what are they paying? Drew Holiday, he's the third or fourth option. And what do you get, 150 or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Something in that neighborhood. So, but I did see that Brandon Jennings, former Milwaukee Buck Brandon Jennings, was on Gilbert Arenas' podcast, and he made reference to, hey, if you pay with his exact quote is, y'all gave him $212 million to be the third option. Philly better win the championship this year. They better win the championship this year. I don't want to hear expletive. Okay, well, that looks like people are watching, people are paying attention, and people are saying, hey, man, and I kind of agree with him, man. I mean, if you look at what they have, Keith, they have one guy on a roster who very easily had not suffered a freak injury in February. They would have a 2-time reigning most likely, if Joel could have played the rest, met that 65 game threshold, they would have had a 2-time back-to-back MVP on a roster. You bring in a multiple time All-Star guy who's pretty much rubber stamped for the Hall of Fame and Paul George. You have the most improved player by a long way in Tyrese Maxey. So the table is set, man. I think the 76ers, well, I know the 76ers know it. They know that, I mean, people may say, yeah, well, you got to get a second round. No. You got, and these guys are spring chickens, well, at least one of them isn't. And so I would say, yes, the pressure is going to mount. The pressure is going to mount for them to be healthy. And I have no problem with people saying, putting that pressure on them. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, the pressure is definitely there. I mean, I think the pressure would be there even if Paul George didn't get the money he got. Like if Paul George got a 3-year deal, if he got 2-year deal, whatever, you're bringing in a 9-time All-Star. You're bringing in a guy who will go down as one of the all-time great two-way players, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you add in the money, it takes it up another notch. The one thing that I will say is that we look at this and you say to yourself, they gave Paul George all this money. And again, we all knew it was going to happen. So I'm not criticizing them for that.
Right.
But they don't have a power forward.
Yeah.
They can't afford to get a real good one. So they got to hope and pray that Marcus Morris is like, yeah, I'll come for the minimum. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what they had. And that's the option. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's pressure. It's a lot of pressure. But at the same time, it's one of those things where you say to yourself, you're like, man, this is cool, but they don't have a forward. I mean, they don't have. I mean, you got KJ Martin, but is KJ Martin a starter? And he's more like a wing who plays.
Caleb.
Not Caleb, KJ Martin. KJ. KJ Martin. And then, Caleb, he's an undersized guy, but he's 6'5". They're talking about him. Nah, they don't have a power forward.
Right.
So as far as, you could get away with that in the regular season for a little bit. But what's going to happen when Julius Randle comes back? What's going to happen with other people? They're too big for these guys to guard. You know what I mean? So they got to get the money part is, you got this is what you have to deal with. You got these exceptions, and that's what they use. And then you also have these minimum deals.
Mm-hmm.
So now the pressure is like, who's going to be the power forward because of you essentially got 3 max players and you can't afford one. So they got to hope and pray that Marcus Morris decides to take a minimum deal and play for his hometown 76ers. But I agree. There is a lot of pressure. Like right now, no one's really talking about the Boston Celtics, even though they won the chip.
Right.
Porzingis is hurt, but no one's talking about them. The New York Knicks. People are like quietly talking about them.
That's Keith, and that's Keith. That's your undercover squad. I can tell.
Who, the Knicks?
Yeah, that's your undercover squad.
You know what? Here's the thing, man. Like a couple of years ago, people thought they didn't know what the heck they were doing, right?
They did.
They didn't.
They didn't.
But then all of a sudden, they got Brunson.
Yep.
And then it looks like they got his people around him. I don't know if they're really my undercover squad, but what I do like about the Knicks is that I like that they have an identity.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that I think that they have that the Sixers don't is youth.
That D word.
The defense, and but they also have youth.
Yeah,
right.
I was going to say depth. I think they got
depth too. Yeah, they got that too. But they also have a lot of players who fit the personality of the coach.
Right.
You know what I mean? They have a lot of players. Like you look at them, and it's kind of like college recruiting. Like certain franchises or teams or colleges, they want to go after certain types of players. Well, they got these long, athletic, interchangeable players, a bunch of them, and they're deep. So, yeah, I do think that they're better than the Sixers. I feel like the Sixers are like, when it comes down to the Knicks, it's kind of like the old head coming to the court. The Sixers are the old head, but the Knicks are those young boys that don't have no respect for the old head. And like, yo, we trying to embarrass you, old head.
It's like
So
a Lion King scenario.
yeah, man. So we gotta see if they can hold back Simba and the boys.
Yeah, it was Mustafa. It's
Yeah,
been a minute since I sat with my kids to watch that. But hey, but you know what? I mean, the Knicks got to stay healthy too. They do have Tibbs will put that grindstone on his players and wear them out. He did in Chicago.
but Nick Nurse does the same thing too now.
Yeah. But
They both play a lot of
yeah,
players, man.
yeah.
That's a lot.
Again, there's one thing that unlocks that. There's one number that unlocks this whole code. 280.
Yeah.
A real 280 unlocks all the codes.
Look, man, let's talk about this 280 real quick. It was a dude from the barbershop I hang out at. So they was debating. One dude said Joel Embiid was 260 pounds. And they was like, come on, man. I was like, they lumped me into it. They called me. And I'm on the phone with this dude. I'm like, bro, come on, man. Go ahead with that, man. Well, that's what they say. I'm like, come on, man. Like, dude.
He said 260?
260. And he was adamant. And we were like, you believe that? And he was like, yeah. That's what they said on TV. I'm like, okay.
He hasn't seen 260 since we were in the 20 teens. You know what I mean? He's seen 260, bruh.
Yeah, exactly. 20 teens when he was in high school and college.
Yep. Listen, we can talk about that a little bit more. But a guy who is under 260, Keve Aluma, we can talk about him a little bit, who's impressing people in the summer league. But right now, let's talk about FanDuel. Man, I love me some sports. I can't wait for the Olympics to start because there's nothing going on right now. And I love them so much that I never want them to stop. But they have reached somewhat of a lull, especially with the NBA playoffs not being here. So the sports aren't just sporting like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood, like the Whispers. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. So do yourself a favor and head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. So tell me, you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day, every day, all day long? You sometimes have to turn down the volume with all that shouting, all that preaching and pontificating. I understand. What you need to do is make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming and hollering. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every single solitary day.
Do it today, people. Definitely do it today. So, this guy, Keve Aluma, has been low-key the best player, second best player, low-key best shooter on the 76ers team. And he's been balling, man. The guy is shooting 73.3%. He can play. He's actually the backup center, but he comes in and he plays power forward as well. Now, the guy, Tony Bradley, who was with the Sixers before, Aluma has been outplaying him in practice, and that's why he elevated to the backup role.
Yeah.
And now he looks like a guy who can help the Sixers. Like, he should get a two-way deal with them the way he looks. I mean, he's phenomenal. And the one thing is he's versatile enough because they don't need him as a center, but he can step out, he can hit shots.
Right.
He's playing really a Dembona, like in the fourth quarters, clutch time. He is like the power forward and is like balling. Last game they were struggling against Detroit in the fourth quarter. He comes in and scores 6 consecutive points. Right, he hits a three, and then he comes in there, blocks a shot, gets a rebound, the whole nine, and then he gets an and one, and then next thing you know, they're up 7 points and the route is on. Jeff Doughton hits a shot, and then Ricky Council the fourth comes out and makes some spectacular plays. But I'm telling you, he was the guy who started it. He's been real decisive. Um, he always plays aggressive, but his decisiveness is going up another level. And the fact that he's been overseas for the
Yeah.
last 2 years enabled him to play alongside other bigs.
Yeah.
So we got 50-50 that he was playing power forward center.
Mhm.
And that's the benefit. I think he's a good he's balling extremely well. And I think he would be a good option as a two-way player. If not, well, they don't have the money outside of that, but I guess he'll be a solid option as a two-way player for the Sixers.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. I mean, he's just really coming to my attention, digging into his past. I mean, even when he was at Virginia Tech, he was, he made the most noise in 2022 as a second team All ACC player. Then he made that trek overseas, playing in places like Korea and Japan. And the point that you mentioned is he's a guy who played a lot of center in college, but did make the adjustment and the transition overseas, playing alongside some 7-footers. And you like to see that because in that league, 6'9", unless you're going to the small ball center, that kind of designates you as as a center, at 6'9". So, and they do need a power forward. Now, where they're going to get the answer to that question from is beyond me. But I do like the way he steps out, can hit the three ball. I mean, you're talking about a guy through those 4 games he's played is 22 or 30 from the field. And he's shooting 55% from the 3-point line. So, Keith, I mean, and you know it's better than anybody. Summer League is a place where if you can find a diamond in the rough, if you so happen to find one, hey, more power to you. And I like what I'm seeing from the kid, man. And the fact that he is ahead of Bradley, a guy who's had a taste, and he hasn't had a taste of the NBA. So, he's going to he's going to want to have get the full plate. You know what I mean? He's going to want to get the full 3-course meal, 5-course meal, whatever the elite meal is now. He's going to want that. And so hey, just keep it up, young man. Again, this is Summer League, but they are looking for players. I'm sure he'll gladly take a 2-way deal. I think, if he catches somebody else's eye, but yeah, I like what I'm seeing from him.
And the way he's playing, the way he's playing, somebody has to be looking at him. I mean, somebody has to. Dude, because he is balling, dude. I mean, he's really playing well. I mean, we're talking about the first game he shot 5 for 5. Then another game he shot 7 for 9. And then I believe the last game that they played, the first NBA Summer League game in Vegas, he shot 8 for 10. Like, yo, this isn't a fluke, man. Like, you have it one game 5 for 5. Like, oh, okay. The other game, 7 for 9. You're like, But then when he comes back with another one, now he did have one tanker, one game where he didn't shoot the ball particularly well, just one. But 3 out of 4 where he was like unstoppable. Come on, man.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's
and
crazy.
I like the idea that he knows when to roll out to the 3-point line and be that escape valve for a guard. He did that with McCain yesterday a few times. He rolled out and made himself available and hit the shot. So yes, it's hard not to like what you're seeing from him. And he's like you said, he's long, he's springy. He runs the floor, and and a guy who needs to be paying notice of that is paying attention is Adem Bona, because granted you signed a contract, but this is the NBA, man. We're not looking for they're looking for guys who are game ready. Now, I'm not saying that this kid Aluna is ready right now, but this is audition time. This is audition time, and we'll talk about that a little bit and some other things, maybe a little bit more when we get back from talking about eBay Motors, passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance: superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your hard-earned cashola back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the price you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge, significant victories. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers.
Now, Mitch, this segment, I want to talk about two people. First, I want to talk about KJ Martin. Then I want to talk about Zhaire Smith a little bit. Just throw him out there a little bit, throw his name out.
Zhaire who?
Yeah, Zhaire Smith had a sighting yesterday when he
that
posted
guy.
on somebody. Yeah. Now, here's the thing about KJ. Now, KJ signed with the 76ers for 2 years, $16 million. I think that this is one of those situations where it's a wait and see. Like they can't trade him until January, but everybody was under the impression that they would sign this guy so they can get somebody, in the $8 million range they could trade for. I think they could still do that, and I think that's still an option that they really would like to do. But they have to wait until January. So now it's up to him he could do two things. He could prove to them that I deserve to stay, or he's just a chip for them for the trade deadline, like to upgrade the team.
Yeah.
If I'm him, I don't know how comfortable I am with that situation, because it's one of those things where I don't even know if I want to get a spot. And I'm probably not going to get a crib. I'm talking about, you know what I mean? I'll probably leasing month to month or whatever it is, or something for like 6-month lease or whatever. But but let's say this. He does play hard.
He does.
He's undersized at 6'6". They say he's a wing, but he plays more of a power forward position. Now, I don't know if he's a starter on this team, but he's the only real, and he's not even the real one, but he's the only legitimate power forward. He's undersized, but he's the only power forward option that they really have, right?
Yeah.
For the bang with people. So I guess bringing him back is cool, but it's also one of those things where that they're going to be looking to move him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it kind of it's I think it's a good situation for him. I think he got paid above his market value. I do. And I think what has to happen what is not imperative, but what needs to happen for him is for the 76ers to have a lot of blowouts, right? If they can, if they can get some blowouts and he can get guys off the floor and they can go to a hybrid roster and he can pad his stats, so he can get some numbers behind his name. And I mean, you know, obviously scouts will be paying attention and letting them know. But if that happens and he can start padding his numbers, then his trade value goes up. You know, somebody will say, what's the, you know, Kenya's boy is out there balling. I like him. I like him. I mean, we kind of like him for his high flying ability, his athleticism, um, those things. He's, you know, is he? I see him right now still as fringe rotational. You know, he's a guy who, and the fact that we are talking about him as the only real power forward on the roster, or he plays like power forward because he's not, size wise. So he needs to look at it as an opportunity. You know, it's obviously a contract that they signed him to, and I think it's a smart move by Daryl Moore. You know, it's a smart move. You can dangle this guy, and when you can possibly move him if there's some takers, then you do so. But it's an interesting contract, and obviously he doesn't solve their problems at power forward, but he's the best they have right now, and obviously they do see something in him. They do see something in him.
Yeah, they see something. But the thing is, let's see what the Cleveland Cavaliers see in Zhaire Smith. Now, for y'all who don't know, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you do, you know, Zhaire Smith was the guy who the Sixers got back in the trade when they traded Mikal Bridges. They drafted Mikal 10th overall, and they traded him to the Phoenix Suns.
And because Brett Brown thought he was who?
Yeah, but see, that was the biggest joke because Brett Brown was just doing his job. Brett Brown didn't want to make that trade.
And who did he compare him to?
They put the pressure on him. Excuse me, the 2018 draft. But Brett Brown said he reminded him of Kawhi Leonard.
The poor man's Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah. So now you know this. Zhaire Smith and Tyrese Maxey are both from the same state, Garland, Texas. They used to work out together growing up.
That's why I like doing this podcast.
Tyrese Maxey went to the same high school as Zhaire Smith's dad. Before Tyrese Maxey came out, Zhaire Smith's dad, Billy Smith, was the best basketball player in school history.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're like connected. But anyway, so you know, we all know his career has been, first of all, he had lofty standards to live up to in the first place after Brett Brown said what he said.
Yeah.
And then that he was acquired in the trade for the guy who would have was the missing link, would have been a missing link for a Sixers team.
Yeah.
But we go on and he struggled. You know, he had sickness, he had injuries. But you know, he averaged 12 points last year for the Cleveland, 12.14 for Cleveland's G League team. He shot 35% on three. I mean, he averaged 1.3 steals, but his dunk has been the highlight of the summer league.
Yeah, it
so far. So I wish the guy luck. I mean, he's a guy that you want to see. You hope and pray that he can make it back into the NBA.
Yeah.
And the 13 games he played as a Sixer in the NBA are the only 13 games that he's played in the NBA. That's it.
Wow.
He hasn't smelled it. Wow. So I commend the brother for still trying to give it a try. But it's still an uphill battle for him.
Yeah, I mean, it was an absolutely spectacular dunk. It was a low budget. If you haven't seen it, it was low budget Anthony Edwards dunk late in the season, late over Collins, late in the regular season. But yeah, I think that you wish him the very best. You know, I mean, in Philadelphia, he'll always be remembered as a guy who, I mean, quite honestly, if he had never been traded for him, if you think about it, Paul George might not even be here right now. If you think about it, you know, they may have, Mikal Bridges may have completely blossomed here in Philly. And so who knows? But you are glad because he's just a guy that got traded for. He was just a pawn in the chess game. The 76ers liked him better than Mikal Bridges at the time, and they dealt for him. And again, he took ill, but you hope that you wish him the very best move forward.
Yeah,
Wish
yeah,
him the very best.
yeah. You do. But look, y'all, we want to thank y'all for listening today, right? But before we let you go, we want to talk about what Locked On has launched. And Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On Plus, our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available in the free Fire TV channels app. So for Mitch, and we like to say, have a blessed day and have a blessed week. And make sure you watch your Sixers play tonight against the Portland Trail Blazers. And you can see Keve Aluma, Ricky Council, and company try to get them the business.
I think Kiwi gonna be 25. I got Kiwi for 25 tonight.
Yeah, whatchamacallit got to get Jared got to work on his get his shot down a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm not really concerned just because he's a shooter. I
he's a
think it
shooter.
will come.
Yeah.
It will come. It will come.
Yeah.
But all right, y'all. Peace out now.
Have a good one, y'all. Stay cool.